Hello, good afternoon from Mallory Park. In prospect this afternoon, 2 hours of the best of British racing, the highlight of which is the Spring Cup for 500cc Grand Prix bikes. Joining me with his expert comment is Barry Sheene. Welcome, Barry. And I know he has a particular interest in a young man who burst onto the scene rather like a human exocet. His name is Kevin Schwantz, and he's said to be the best thing since Freddie Spencer. Until 3 weeks ago, Schwantz was unheard of outside his native Texas, but he put that right during the Transatlantic Challenge at Donington Park. On the way to scooping the £5,000 prize for the best individual rider of the series, Mr. Schwantz also entertained us with his own special brand of cabaret.
Are we going to see another superstar performance from these two young Americans? Merkel leads from Schwantz, Rob McElnay, then Chris Martin, then Dan Chivington down to 5th place. And bringing up the tail of the field at the moment. Oh, and Kevin Schwantz and Merkel. Well, that was amazing, absolutely amazing. Kevin Schwantz was all but off the motorcycle. Fred Merkel was on the grass. Here's a replay of that amazing incident. Sam McDonald at the tail end of the field going through. Then we're going to see Fred Merkel in a big slide. Schwantz in trouble. Merkel on the grass. Schwantz off the bike. Look, the only thing hanging on are his two hands and one leg draped over the side of the bike. He climbs on board, cool as you like. Rob McElnay, I'm sure, just can't believe his eyes.
And there's Schwantz, a huge slide. He's almost off the bike again. The back end just slid away wildly there, and he was once more half on and half off the motorcycle.
And the amazing thing is that Kevin Schwantz is loving this. He looked back to see Fred Merkel, and if we could have seen through the helmet, he would have been smiling, I'll guarantee it. Kevin Schwantz and Fred Merkel are loving every dangerous, heart-stopping moment of this team race, and it's mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. Merkel has dropped it. He's going to get back in his feet. Schwantz wins, and he's delighted. Rob McElnay is going to get second place, and is Merkel going to get restart and finish? Kevin Schwantz won that one, and then once again he punches the air. What a tremendous rider he is.
You see what I mean? He's the sort of rider you meet just Schwantz in a lifetime, isn't he, Barry?
Very good, yeah.
Actually, today is the Rider's Eye View camera, which I know a lot of you saw at Donington because we've had a lot of queries about how it works. So I'll tell you. The special lightweight camera is mounted on the handlebars of Roger Burnett's bike. And here comes the clever bit. The signal is beamed up to a helicopter which circles overhead throughout the race. And that in turn feeds the picture to you sitting at home. So this is what Mallory Park looks like when you're racing around it.
This is the view that I get from the onboard camera. This is into the new chicane, which was designed to slow the Devil's Elbow down, which is the next corner. We power out of the corner now in 3rd gear, up to 4th gear, and down the start and finish straight. This is the start line we're just crossing now. Down under the Shell Oils Bridge into Gerrards, which is accelerating into 6th gear, down to 5th gear. Perhaps we take this corner at about 150 miles an hour. You can see the rider just in front of me in the distance there is Mark Phillips. Exiting this corner, you need a full head of steam on the bike. Now we go up the Stebby Straight into 6th gear. On the approach to the S's, which is back 2 gears to 4th gear, which goes right and then left, and then have to get ready. The front wheel tends to just lift slightly there, so you just got to be ready for that. And then we go down to the hairpin, which is a 1st gear right-hand bend, and then back to the new chicane where we started off. It's fairly hectic. It doesn't seem very long, but believe me, it takes a lot out of you. Barry Sheene says it's the most physically demanding circuit in the world, and I can assure you it is.
How dangerous is it?
Whew, motor racing's dangerous, motorcycle racing's dangerous. I think that there's a safe way and an unsafe way of going about it, and I think as professionals we try to go about it the safe way with the correct equipment, etc., etc., but I would rate Mallory Park as perhaps one of the more dangerous circuits, definitely.
How are you going to get on here? Because at Donington, Kevin Schwantz dominated the individual results, but you were on his machines over there. Now, of course, you're on your own machines.
Yes, Kevin came to Donington Park to the match races on his superbike, which, I mean, credit due to Kevin, he didn't see the bike before he arrived in the UK or the circuit. So we're here at Mallory Park now on 500 machinery. Kevin's riding Barry Sheen's ex-World Championship Grand Prix machine, so as practice has just proved, he's on the pace, so it's going to be anybody's race, definitely.
We come then to our first race of the afternoon, the ACU TT for Formula 2 bikes. These are ordinary road engines fitted into racing chassis. It's the second round of the championships. They're on the warm-up lap at the moment, and waiting to describe events for us are our commentators Chris Carter and Peter Clifford. Over to you.
Competitors then on this warm-up lap through the S's on what is a modified Mallory Park circuit. For this year, as you say, they're coming off out of the hairpin through the chicane, rather cruelly nicknamed the bus stop by one or two people, and then having slowed them down somewhat, taking them through Devil's Elbow. In fact, they're running 2 laps of warm-up. It's a little bit cool here at Mallory Park today, although fortunately no rain at all, and for British road racing enthusiasts, that is a pleasant change indeed. This then, the second round of the championship, as Tony was saying, the winner of round 1 in the pouring rain at Thruxton last weekend was Ray Swan. In fact, Ray had a tremendous meeting on the Colin Aldridge bikes. He won the opening rounds of both the Formula 2 and Formula 1 championships. But Swanee, only 11th fastest in practice, about 1.5 seconds off the pace of the quickest man, and the quickest man, Ian Newton. And Ian Newton having a busy weekend here at Mallory Park with rides in this race and the 250cc events. From Skelmersdale, Ian Newton, the fastest in practice, and another member of that Burnett family, Ian Burnett, younger brother to Roger, he's second fastest. Well, Peter, Formula 2 racing, production-based racing is a growing branch of the sport.
Yes, and all these machines, as we've heard, have roadster-based engines. They can be extensively modified and they can be put in any sort of chassis, but the engines have to have come out of a road bike. And Ray Swan won the first round on a Kawasaki, but most of the bikes are Yamahas, like this one in front of you, and they use the Yamaha RD350LC engine in racing frames with proper racing tyres and all the proper racing kit. And I think that the Yamahas are going to be hard to beat round the Mallory Park circuit because they're a good deal lighter than Ray Swan's Kawasaki, which is in a beautifully prepared P&M frame, but he might have difficulty getting in and out of the hairpins.
Just so, the front row of the grid reads numbers 56, Ian Newton, number 9, Ian Burnett, 20, Tony Head, 17, young Carl Fogarty, just 20 years of age, 26, Neil Tuxworth, and 46, Steve Williams. So a nice variety of youth and experience on the front row of the grid. Second row of the grid, number 13, Ian Locker, the 29, Dave Hislop. It's a clutch start, they're straining, and although it's a little bit ragged, they finally got away, and it's number 9, Ian Burnett, who looks as though he's setting the pace, but Burnett has been dropped back as Carl Fogarty, 20-year-old Carl Fogarty, the man who's made the big sensation this year. Fogarty, who leads the 250 Motor Prix series after 2 rounds. The final round, of course, tomorrow here at Mallory Park, and Fogarty leads.
But Swan already up into second place. Oh, and a bump there. 2 riders touched in third and fourth places.
That was Neil Tuxworth there and Ray Swan. Tuxworth and Swan there, very close indeed. Well, that was a nasty moment. Ian Newton in second place. Newton, who was fastest in practice, with a nasty worrying moment then when Neil Tuxworth and Ray Swan, who were first and second in the opening round, actually made contact. Tuxworth there in third place. So the race leader at the moment, Carl Fogarty, Ian Newton in second place. Then it's Neil Tuxworth, and Ray Swan is in fourth position. And Ian Newton pulling out of the slipstream to go and take the lead. He was the fastest man in practice. The pack storming down the slope of Devil's Elbow onto the start-finish straight. And it's still Fogarty, out in front, Carl Fogarty, holding on to the lead. Tuxworth is coming up. Neil Tuxworth, the baby-faced young man from Louth in Lincolnshire, but he's been riding a long time. In his mid-30s, let's say he's 35 and be kind to him. Carl Fogarty, 20 years of age in the lead, 23 years old, Ian Newton in second place, and the veteran of the gang, Neil Tuxworth, and Ray Swan, who'd lost a bit of ground there, who was the winner of the opening round, still there in fourth place. The rest of them through the chicane. Swan with 15 points in the match from that opening round, and side by side it's Fogarty and Ian Newton as they go round at the end of the second lap. This is a 15-lap battle, and Newton has the lead. Ian Newton goes in front, but Fogarty is riding so nicely. Peter, cool, calm and unflustered. This is his first season of major racing, and Neil Tuxworth's there as well. And again, the same sort of problem. Tuxworth was almost touched by Fogarty. Well, two near misses coming out of Gerrard's.
And Tuxworth is very fast coming out of Gerrard's, and he seems to have a wide line coming out and catches the other riders as they sweep wide exiting the bend. And as we've seen, we nearly had 2 accidents, and Tuxworth will have to watch that passing manoeuvre.
And also Tony Head. Yes, that's Tony Head who's coming up to join the fun as well. 56 Ian Newton, number 17 Carl Fogarty, 26 Tuxworth. Then behind Neil Tuxworth is Ray Swan on bike number 14, and in 5th place, the last man in that quintet is number 20 Tony Head.
So these 3 leaders all on the Yamaha machines, and Tuxworth again wide and almost running into trouble with Fogarty.
And Fogarty, very, very quick, goes through on the inside, changes his mind, hadn't quite got enough pace or space. And Fogarty, the bike shakes there, but this 20-year-old, and he just darts through on the inside. Fogarty finding Ian Newton dozing a little bit, and Fogarty holds the title line, no chance of Newton coming through, but Fogarty made a mistake. That wheelie there cost him time, and Newton came storming back to take the lead. Ian Newton out in front, Fogarty second, Neil Tuxworth, and Tony Head has gone ahead of Ray Swan. In 6th spot is number 13 Ian Locker.
Yes, and it looked like to me as though there was a difference in gearing on those 2 bikes. Fogarty had the lower gear and it drove out of the hairpin well, but the front wheel came up and he had to button off, letting the other man through.
And again, Tuxworth goes wide and he's going to have second place. He's got it this time. And Tuxworth, and through on the inside goes Fogarty, but he's pushed back, and Neil Tuxworth is very wide indeed as they go into the S's. And Tuxworth goes onto the curbing, in fact, and goes back to 4th place as Tony Head comes charging through. Well, what a splendid GT Formula 2 race this is. Ian Newton in front, Carl Fogarty in 2nd place. Tony Head is 3rd, Neil Tuxworth is 4th, and the championship leader, Ray Swan, on Colin Aldridge's bike, is back in 5th spot.
All 4 Yamahas out in front now, chased by the P&M Kawasaki. 2 strokes leading the 4-cylinder 4-stroke.
1.3 seconds the gap between 1st and 5th. Newton, Fogarty breathing down his neck. Tony Head getting closer. While Tony Head has abandoned all that, Fogarty goes through. Fogarty regains the lead. Carl Fogarty in front. Ian Newton 2nd, Tony Head 3rd. Then it's Tuxworth and Ray Swan, and again Fogarty. Front wheel paws the air. The question of gearing, as you said, Peter.
Yes, and what is very interesting is that the 2nd and 3rd machines are being run on Avon tyres. Now, Avon have been out of racing pretty much in the solo class for many, many years, but they're obviously competitive, as we can see now as Fogarty battles for the lead.
Newton dives through on the inside, Newton grabs the lead. Ian Newton back in front. Very brave, very quick going into Gerrard's Bend, and you've got to have a lot of bottle to be quick going into Gerrard's. And Fogarty's there again, much quicker this time than Newton going into the S's. And Newton almost lying on the rear wheel, and Newton going very quick and very wide up the curb, and almost clipped Carl Fogarty's rear tyre. That could have been nasty, Peter.
Yes, it was absolutely desperate stuff. Newton knew he had to keep the power on as long as he could through the corner. He ran wide and had to button off or almost run into the back of Fogarty.
Fogarty, number 17, the leader. 56, Ian Newton in 2nd place. Nothing in it at all. Tony Head is 3rd, Neil Tuxworth is 4th, and Ray Swan, far from disinterested, is in 5th place.
But Newton got a much better drive down the hill and is almost alongside Fogarty again and slips inside him.
And Newton leads. Fogarty in 2nd place. I must confess that Carl Fogarty's riding has been one of the sensations of this season. just 20 years of age, and he dives through like a rocket. Out breaks Newton totally, and there's a slower man in the way, and that could make life difficult or interesting, depending on how you look at it. And Newton thinks about going through on the inside, changes his mind, and there's Tony Head. Well, Tony Head's ridden a lot of racing miles around Mallory Park, and this is an impressive ride from Carl Fogarty in many respects. This is not his normal class of riding. Formula 2 is new to him. He's new to this level of competition. Ian Newton, Tony Head there in third place. But Fogarty had a very nasty smash here at Mallory Park last year, broke several bones, and that must psychologically be a barrier to overcome, Peter.
Yes, it is always a psychological barrier. When you've had a nasty experience at a circuit, to come back and ride like Fogarty is now is a true sign of champion. You see him pulling himself up on the front of the handlebars there, pulling himself over the tank to keep the front wheel from getting out of control, and holding the bike firmly over the ripples that there are exiting the corner at Gerrards.
Fogarty the leader, Ian Newton again using all the red and white curbstones on the outside of the S's to go through. Fogarty, Newton, Tony Head. Coming around to complete 9 laps, 6 more laps to go, and it really would be a brave man to forecast the result of this. There's Tony Head, there is Neil Tuxworth, and Ray Swan losing a little bit of ground but not out of it, and Newton looking to go round the outside. Well, I thought Ian Newton was going to have a go around the outside, and the slow man gets in his way, and Newton 14 wider. And look at Fogarty, almost lying on that slower man.
Yes, he had to pick the bike up to go round the slower man and then just lay it on its side to get round the corner.
The sprint down the back straight, both riders chin on the fuel tank, popping up out of the fairing as they slow down for the S's. Carl Fogarty in the lead, and Newton's going to go have him on the outside. Newton's got the better line going on the inside, and Fogarty's trying to hold him up, but I don't think he's going to do it. And Fogarty will just have to ease off, but he comes back tight. Oh, and Tony Head almost dived through and made contact with Carl Fogarty. And Fogarty, the young man, did very well indeed to avoid hitting Tony Head then.
Yes, but great riding from Head too. He saw the two men in front of him battling, and he knew that something had to give, and he was there to pounce when Fogarty had to give him a yard.
Fogarty, of course, easing off on the throttle to dive back on the inside of Newton, the classic reply to an overtaking manoeuvre as Newton had done. But there was Tony Head. Less than 7/10 of a second between the first 3 men at the end of that lap. And here comes Fogarty. He's going to regain second place here. Fogarty storms through on the inside, passing Tony Head. You can see him building up for that overtaking manoeuvre. Now he's got to come back at Ian Newton.
Yes, and all 3 of these men, it looks to me, on Avon tyres. As I said, great to see this British company back in action and overcoming the domination of Dunlop and Michelin.
Well, indeed, and we should be seeing Avon's development of the sidecar world as well, where they're now battling away against people like Michelin and Goodyear. Down Devil's Elbow, once again, Tony Head there breathing down the neck of young Carl Fogarty. No change in the top 3. It's Ian Newton, Carl Fogarty, Tony Head, then dropping back a little bit, Neil Tuxworth and Ray Swan. 53.7 seconds, much quicker, about 1.5 seconds a lap quicker than they've done in practice. Ian Newton, the race leader, he was the quickest man in practice.
And Newton riding absolutely superbly now, but he runs across the tail end and no slightest hesitation. He just drove straight through. There was half a yard of a gap and he took it.
And Fogarty closes up at the hairpin with Tony Head there in second place. You see the front wheel pouring the air. It's a question of gearing, as Peter was saying earlier. Now the charge. Again, the first 3 men pulling closer and closer together.
And Fogarty's gearing does seem a little bit wrong, because he definitely loses out on the drive down the sweep there, which loses him time all the way up to Gerrard's Bend.
Ian Newton, Carl Fogarty, Tony Head. Ian Newton, then Carl Fogarty closing up. He's very quick down the back straight. Can he pull back? You can see him reeling in, the man ahead of him. Ian Newton still in front. There's Tony Head, and Tony Head's a wily old boy. They're coming up on 2 tail enders now. Ian Newton goes through on the inside of one of them, and Fogarty goes as well. And that man is going to be frightened to death, and unfortunately he's balked Fogarty and Tony Head once again, racecraft again, Peter.
Yes, it was great stuff from Newton. He knew that any person he could put between him and the men behind him was a huge advantage, and that's what it's done for him. It opened out to 10, 20 yards lead now over Head and Fogarty.
13 laps gone. There is Neil Tuxworth and Ray Swan battling away for 4th and 5th place, and Tony Head now in 2nd place. Fogarty, who looked a very likely, possible, but certainly by no means certain race winner, is now back in 3rd place and with an awful lot of work to do in this final lap and a bit to the finish.
And it's a real test for Fogarty now. It must be tremendously disheartening as he traces Head, back wheel in the air on the brakes. He's chasing Head now, but he's lost places, and it's very disheartening, a real test of his courage and personality.
And Fogarty looking to go round the outside, and he has. Oh dear, and I don't think Tony Head will be too pleased about that. But Fogarty putting on the pressure, and he's got ahead of Tony Head. And Fogarty is through to 2nd place. It's the start of the final lap.
And Fogarty only left Tony Head 6 inches there, and Head needed a full 12 and had to run wide.
And can this man, Ian Newton, hold off the challenge from 2nd place man Carl Fogarty? Fogarty bullying Tony Head a little bit, and for a young man that takes an awful lot of doing.
And a bit of good fortune for Newton, because it looks as though he's got a clear road ahead of him. No tail enders that are going to balk him before the end of this lap.
Into the S's for the final time, and he's gone ever so wide indeed. Newton trying absolutely everything he knows. Ian Newton then coming up to the hairpin for the final time. The yellow caution flags are out. We can't see what the problem is, but here is the tail ender, and Newton has to slow down, and that will give Fogarty a chance to get closer. But has Fogarty got time? He hasn't. Newton is going to win this one, but what a race it's been. Ian Newton wins, punches the air. Carl Fogarty right behind, and Tony Head finishes 3rd. In 4th place is Neil Tuxworth. 5th is Ray Swan. And we're waiting now for the 6th place man, and Ian Newton has every reason to be delighted for the first 3 men home. So confirmation of the result. Ian Newton the winner, Carl Fogarty in 2nd place, Tony Head 3rd, and Ray Swan finishing 5th place will add 6 more points to his tally. So Swan will hold the championship lead. Neil Tuxworth moves or keeps 2nd place, but he's on 20. Just 1 point behind. So what a great victory for Ian Newton. Carl Fogarty confirmed